Observational research is closely related to field work and therefore the most suitable to collect qualitative data from subjects or respondents in their real-world setting. Is it always the case? Hi, I'm Ellen from the Experience Research Lab, and today I'll be talking about observational research. If you're looking for a job related to the product development or human experience, one of the minimum requirements is knowledge and skill in observational research. So what is it, observational research? Observational research is a method. It captures the behavior of the subjects involved in an event. They can be human beings, animals, plants, microorganisms, and even foreign objects in space. Initially, observational researchers, including those working in the product design and user experience, do their observations in person using pen and paper. Later, as technology advanced, they started using various instruments such as camera or video recorder, heat, motion, or voice sensors. In contrast to the general belief, observational research is not only fieldwork. It has several methods and techniques of approach, and it may depend on the setting, participation, structure, data, longitudinality, and samples required for the study. From the setting point of view, there are two types of observational research. The first one is the naturalistic observation, and the second one is the laboratory observation. A notable example of observational research with naturalistic observation is fieldwork done by Charles Darwin on the Galapagos Island in 1835. Another example is the watching of Halley's Comet, which passes the Earth about every 75 years. For Darwin and those researching plants and animals living in the wilderness or foreign objects in space, naturalistic observation is the most suitable because there is no way to relocate the objects of their study to a laboratory. By observing the plants and animals on the island and watching the comet, the researchers can discover insights that were impossible to gain through other methods, including focus group discussion, in-depth interviews, and surveys. Meanwhile, for those researching human behaviors, naturalistic observation is suitable for learning human behaviors in a real-world setting. However, considering the complexity of the environment, they may relocate the subjects to a laboratory. And this is leading us to the second type of observational research, laboratory observation. So, in contrast to the naturalistic observation, laboratory observation runs in a controlled environment. One of the most prominent examples is the Milgram experiment. To learn human behaviors, particularly their willingness to obey a figure in authority, Stanley Milgram did some manipulation, such as the voltage and voices of the learner behind the wall. Nowadays, UX and product researchers run laboratory observations to learn the user behaviors and attitudes toward the experience using a product. This method is getting more popular for its directness. Researchers can collect data while the event is going on simply by watching and taking note of the subject in the study. In Milgram experiments and similar laboratory observations, researchers stand as observers, watching the subjects from a distance. Since the researchers do not participate or get involved in the life or activities done by the subjects, this method is also known as a non-participant observation. Standing or sitting, watching and taking notes of the event may help identify and measure the outcome. Yet, it is not enough to understand the underlying reasons. In other words, there is still a gap between the researchers and the objects of their study. To close the gap, the researchers need observers participating as group members. It is a cohort observation. Therefore, the observers must act, behave, and communicate naturally. Instead of writing with pen and paper, they will take mental notes. Interaction with other group members will be informal. Participant observation is generally unstructured to promote flexibility. Despite the predetermined schedule of events or activities, researchers or observers may improvise to keep the environment and the interaction with the participants flowing as naturally as possible. Many favor participant observation for its high accuracy. By immersing themselves in the group, the observers can see everything inside. They can hear, smell, touch, taste, and feel everything other members do. When the participants are not aware of the observation, the researchers may capture their natural behavior. It means accurate and more comprehensive information on how and why things happen. Despite the accuracy, however, participant observation is considered more costly and time-consuming. Unless the researchers, especially those interacting with the participants, are free from prejudice, their works are prone to bias. To minimize the bias, researchers may structure observational research with a clearly defined approach, method, technique, and tools for data collection. Structured observation is closely related to the non-participant method. It involves no interaction with participants, as demonstrated in the Milgram experiment. The next question is, observational research is qualitative because the data collected from the observation is not number. Is it so? Well, naturalistic observation, especially those requiring researchers to interact with other participants in an unstructured manner, are generally qualitative. It relies on the subjective judgments and interpretation of the researchers. Far free from numbers and arithmetic calculation, it focuses on explaining the characteristics of the event or the subject in the study, such as what happened, how did it happen, and why did it happen. However, it is worth noting that not all observational research is qualitative. Even field work with participant observation is applicable to collect quantitative data. Social researchers use quantitative observation to capture demographic information such as age, height, weight, annual income, number of children, etc. Meanwhile, marketing researchers may use quantitative observation to gather information on the number of visitors, length of stay, amount of money spent, etc. Another misconception about observational research is that it is complicated, costly, and time-consuming. As researchers, actually, you are the ones to define the characteristic of the subjects, the length of the study, and the intervention or treatment required. Based on the longitudinality and samples required for the study, there are three types of observational research. The first one is cohort studies, the second one is the case control studies, and the third one is cross-sectional studies. So, cohort studies are longitudinal. It recruits and follows participants with common geodemographic, socioeconomic, or psychographic characteristics over a certain period. Throughout the studies, researchers continuously observe the participants without making any intervention, treatment, or exposure that may change the outcome. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that the researchers are out of the picture. Instead, they may interact with the participants and ask them questions by interview or survey. Case control studies are also longitudinal. It recruits and follows participants with common geodemographic, socioeconomic, or psychographic characteristics over a certain period. So it's quite similar to the first one, the cohort studies. The researchers may interact with the participant and ask them questions by interview or survey. Last but not least are cross-sectional studies. Cross-sectional studies are not longitudinal. The participants do not have to share common characteristics. Instead, they may come from different age groups, gender, race, religious belief, level of education, occupation, income, social status, etc. Regarding the setting, cross-sectional studies are naturalistic. It doesn't involve intervention, treatment, or exposure. Researchers can focus on the observations and analysis, measuring and comparing the outcome among the participants at a specific point in time. Compared to cohort and cost control, the time required for cross-sectional studies is considerably shorter. Cost-wise, it is also less expensive. On the other side, researchers cannot expect much from cross-sectional studies. Collected quantitative data is only suitable for descriptive analysis. It doesn't say anything about the cause-effect relationship.